You got more than $5 million, right? My mother-in-law says with a dreamy smile. We've already started building a duplex for all of us to live in together. I even included my dream kitchen. Her words hit me like a brick. Before I can even react, my husband, Owen, adds, I quit my job. I'm planning to start a business using Kate's inheritance. His voice is filled with excitement, as if he's just made the best decision of his life. I feel my stomach twist. Wait a second, I say, trying to keep my voice calm. I told you, I haven't received any inheritance yet. You quit your job. You're building a duplex? What is going on? Owen and his mother exchange a look. Then, as if things couldn't get any worse, my father-in-law jumps into the conversation. Don't try to fool us, Kate, he says, laughing. It's obvious you got the inheritance. How about we take a nice trip before the house is finished? South Africa sounds perfect, don't you think? I stare at them in shock. Do they really think they can just take my mother's money and use it however they want? The inheritance is all I have left from her, yet they are already making plans for it as if it belongs to them. I feel my anger rising, but I don't know what to say. How did things come to this? A few months ago, everything was normal. My name is Kate. I'm 40 years old and work as a high school teacher. My husband, Owen, is 42 and works in an office. We've been married for 13 years, and we have a daughter, Leah. Ever since she was born, my life has been all about working and raising her. Today, I'm taking Leah to visit my mother in the hospital. She has been sick for a while, and we try to see her as often as we can. Grandma, it's been a while, Leah says happily as we step into the hospital room. Well, Leah, my sweet girl, my mother says, smiling warmly. She reaches out to stroke Leah's hair. Her hand feels thinner than before, and her face looks pale. Seeing her like this makes my chest tighten. Next to her bed, a middle-aged man in a suit and glasses stands quietly. When I nod at him, he nods back and leaves the room without a word. Mom, who is that man? I ask, watching the door close behind him. Just an acquaintance, she says softly. You don't need to worry about it. Then, changing the subject, she asks, Kate, are you doing well? And Owen, how is he? Her eyes, a soft shade of blue, sparkle gently as she smiles. My mother met my father when he was running an import-export business overseas. She moved to the Cape Town as his wife and built a life here. Raising a child in a foreign country must have been hard for her, but she and my father worked together to give me a good life. If only I had known back then what was coming. I am able to work as a teacher today because my mother taught me many important things when I was little. She always encouraged me to learn and be kind to others. I am deeply grateful to both my parents for raising me with love in a comfortable and happy home. Our family was well off, and I had a wonderful childhood. But things changed after my father passed away a few years ago. My mother was left alone, and over time, her health started to decline. Eventually, she became too weak and had to be hospitalized. Since she could no longer manage the family business, she decided to transfer it to a relative. Now, she spends her days quietly in the hospital, resting and recovering. Mom, how are you feeling today? I ask, sitting beside her bed. I'm fine, dear, she says with a gentle smile. Is there anything you need? She shakes her head. Just having you and Leah visit me is more than enough. It makes me very happy. We spend a long time talking, sharing stories, and enjoying each other's company. Leah, my 11-year-old daughter, excitedly tells my mother about her school life, the books she has been reading, and all the little things that interest her. My mother listens patiently, smiling as Leah talks. Leah is at that tricky age where she is starting to become more independent, but we still have a great relationship. Even if I try to be as fair as possible and ignore my own feelings as a mother, I truly believe she is growing into a bright and kind-hearted child. After spending a few hours with my mother, Leah, and I finally head home. We're home. I call out as I unlock the door and step inside. Welcome back. Oh, and my husband greets us. How's my mother-in-law doing? She's the same as always, I reply. How about you? How was your seminar? Oh, I heard some great things today, he says, sounding excited. I'm really looking forward to the next one. Recently, Owen has been attending seminars about quitting his job and starting a side business. I know he wants to make more money, but honestly, our financial situation is fine. His job might not be at a top company, but it's stable. With my salary as well, we don't struggle. Still, his obsession with money makes me uncomfortable. It reminds me too much of his parents. Ever since we got married, I have felt uneasy about how his parents behave when it comes to money. They are extremely stingy, always talking about saving and cutting costs. Even worse, they have a habit of asking us for small amounts of money every time we see them. It's frustrating. They never even give Leah a Christmas present, which upsets me. Thankfully, my in-laws live far away, so we don't have to see them often. And, to be fair, Owen does his share of housework. As long as things stay this way, I guess I can manage. I had my mother, my husband, and my daughter, Leah. Our life was simple but peaceful, and I was happy. I never wished for anything more. But then, one day, everything changed. I received a sudden phone call from the hospital. The doctor on the other end of the line sounded serious. Your mother's condition has worsened. She is in critical condition. Please come quickly. My heart dropped. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Without wasting a second, I grabbed my things and rushed to the hospital with Owen and Leah. When we arrived, my mother was lying in bed, barely breathing. Her face looked pale, and her body seemed so weak. I could feel my hands shaking as I stepped closer to her. Mom, I cried, my voice breaking. Grandma, Leah called out, her eyes filled with tears. My mother slowly opened her eyes. She looked at me and smiled gently, despite the pain she was in. Her voice was weak, but her words were filled with warmth. Kate, I always wanted you to be happy. Take care of Leah. She is the most precious thing in the world. I love you. Those were the last words my mother ever spoke. Tears streamed down my face as I held her hand, unable to stop crying. My mother had raised me with love, always putting me first. She had adored Leah more than anything. Now she was gone. At her funeral, I stood in front of her coffin, looking at her peaceful face one last time. I cried, and Leah cried beside me. It was the hardest goodbye I had ever faced. A few weeks later, an unexpected letter arrived at our house. It was from a law firm. I had no idea why they were contacting me. Confused, I opened the envelope. Inside, I found a letter that made my hands tremble as I read it. I have been entrusted with your mother's will. She has left all of her inheritance to you. I was shocked. My mother and I had never talked about inheritance before. I had no idea she had even made a will. I felt confused, but I knew I needed answers. So I decided to visit the law firm on my own. When I arrived, I was greeted by a middle-aged man wearing glasses. As soon as I saw him, I recognized him. He was the same man who had been in my mother's hospital room. You were with my mother in the hospital, I said, feeling both surprised and curious. Yes, he nodded. I met you there. Your mother asked me to take care of her will. His voice was kind, and for some reason I felt like crying again. But then, what he told me next left me completely speechless. Your mother's total inheritance after taxes is $600 million. My breath caught in my throat. 600 million? Yes, he confirmed. When your father passed away, you gave up your right to his inheritance so your mother could receive everything. Over the years, her personal assets grew. Now, all of it belongs to you. I knew my parents had been wealthy, but I never imagined they had left behind so much. I had never asked them for money, not even after getting married. I avoided the topic of inheritance because it felt unlucky to discuss. Now, standing there, I felt dizzy. But deep in my heart, I knew this was more than just money. This was my mother's final gift to me. It was her way of showing her love, even after she was gone. I left all the legal matters to Daniel. Your mother loved you more than anything, he told me with a kind smile. She asked me to help you in any way you need. If you ever have any questions or need assistance, please don't hesitate to ask. His words brought a sense of comfort during such a difficult time. "Thank you," I said, bowing my head several times to show my gratitude. "I really appreciate your help." Daniel nodded, and with that I left his office, still trying to process everything that had happened. Time passed, and soon it was the 50th day memorial service for my mother. In our culture, this day was important, a time to pray for the peace of a loved one's soul. I was still grieving, trying to cope with the emptiness left by her absence. But during this time, my husband, Owen, started asking about my mother's inheritance more and more frequently. When we first got married, my father was still alive and running his business. Because of that, Owen had always known that my family was wealthy. He was aware, but he never talked about it much before. Now, after my mother's passing, his interest in the inheritance had grown stronger. Each time he brought it up, I told him to stop. "Owen, please. I'm still mourning," I said firmly. He would go quiet for a while, but it never lasted. Before I knew it, he would find subtle ways to bring up the topic again. If that wasn't bad enough, my in-laws were even worse. When they attended my mother's memorial service, my father-in-law pulled me aside and spoke in a casual yet knowing tone. "Kate, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the inheritance, we can help," he said, as if he were doing me a favor. "Huh?" I asked, confused. He smiled as though he was giving me wise advice. "You see, we've had our fair share of inheritance troubles in the past. When a family member dies without a spouse or unmarried siblings pass away, things can get complicated. If you're struggling, you can always talk to us." "That's right," my mother-in-law chimed in. "We're here for you. You can rely on us." It was strange. They had never once offered to help with anything before. They had never shown any interest in supporting me or my family. But now, suddenly, they were eager to help with my mother's money? I didn't know what to say, so I just gave them a vague smile and nodded. For months passed after my mother's death. Owen, who had been quiet for a while, finally lost his patience. "Hey," he said one night, his voice sharp. "Have you received your mother's inheritance yet?" A bad feeling spread through me. I didn't trust him, so I lied. "No, the process is complicated. It hasn't been completed yet." In reality, everything had already been settled. Daniel had advised me to keep the inheritance safe, so I had placed the passbook containing the money in a secure deposit box. But something inside me told me not to tell Owen. "Really?" he asked, narrowing his eyes. "But it's been 4 months. Shouldn't it be done by now?" "Yeah, so what?" I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Well, never mind," he said, suddenly acting cheerful. "I'm going to bed." I watched as he walked toward the bedroom, looking far too pleased with himself. Something didn't feel right. That night, as I got ready for work the next day, an uneasy feeling settled in my chest. I couldn't explain it, but I knew something was wrong. The next evening, after dinner, Kate and Leah were tidying up the kitchen when the doorbell suddenly rang. "I'll get it," Leah called out, hurrying to the door. Kate wiped her hands on a towel and peeked out from the kitchen. To her surprise, her in-laws were standing at the doorstep, looking far too cheerful. Right behind them was Owen, returning from work. Kate's stomach twisted. "Why are they here?" "Leah, go to your room," Owen said quickly. Leah hesitated, looking between her mother and father. Sensing the tension, she quietly obeyed and went upstairs. Kate folded her arms. "What's going on?" she asked, already feeling uneasy. "Never mind that," her father-in-law said, grinning widely. "We have something to celebrate today." Before Kate could respond, he walked straight into the kitchen, opened the fridge, and grabbed a beer, acting as if he owned the place. "Celebrate," she repeated, her eyes narrowing. "You inherited over $500 million, didn't you?" her mother-in-law said with a dreamy smile. "We've already started building a duplex for all of us to live in together. It even comes with a beautiful modern kitchen, just like I always wanted." Kate felt her heart drop. "What?" she gasped. "What are you talking about?" Owen stepped forward, looking pleased with himself. "Kate, you should be happy," he said. "We made a great decision. We used half of our savings and the money Mom and Dad set aside as a down payment for the house." Kate felt her breath quicken. What do you mean we? She demanded. Owen continued, ignoring her anger. The loan is under my name, he said with a smirk, but since you inherited so much, you can just pay it all off at once with your money. It's only fair to give back to my parents. Kate could barely process what she was hearing. You took out a loan? Owen nodded, completely unbothered. And that's not all, he added casually. I quit my job. I've decided to start a business using your inheritance. Kate's stomach turned. Wait a second. What are you saying? I told you I haven't received any inheritance yet. And now you're telling me you quit your job? And what's this about a duplex? Her mother-in-law waved her hand dismissively. Don't lie, Kate. We know you got the money. Her father-in-law chuckled. Before the house is finished, let's take a trip to South Africa. Kate's head spun as Owen and his mother excitedly discussed their plans, as if they were the ones who inherited the money. Then Owen turned to her, smirking. You're so stingy, Kate. Her blood ran cold. We looked into it because you kept lying about not receiving the inheritance, he continued. You can't refuse an inheritance if you don't process the paperwork within 4 months. So whether you did or didn't handle it, you still got the money. Kate froze. Owen grinned. Considering how successful your father's business was, we figured there must be at least 500 million. We'll be living a comfortable life, thanks to you. Thank you, Kate, her mother-in-law added with a sly smile. Make sure to prepare the money for the duplex as soon as possible. And don't forget Owen's capital for his new business. Kate felt lightheaded. These people, her own husband and his family, were planning to use her mother's inheritance however they pleased. They wanted to spend it on themselves, on luxuries, on a house Kate never agreed to, on a business Owen had no experience running. Her body trembled with anger. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tell them off right then and there. But she couldn't. Leah was in the next room. Taking a deep breath, Kate swallowed her rage, but she knew one thing for sure. She would never let them take what her mother left her. Not a single cent. I'm going out for a bit, Kate called out, but no one paid attention. Owen and his parents were too busy excitedly talking about how they would spend her inheritance. They laughed and made plans as if the money was already theirs. Kate felt suffocated. She couldn't stay in that house a second longer. Without grabbing her wallet or even a jacket, she stepped outside. The night air was cool against her skin, and as soon as she took a few steps, tears started falling. She didn't try to stop them. She walked aimlessly, her feet leading her to Kruger National Park, the place where she used to go with her mother. Sitting on a bench, she buried her face in her hands and cried, making sure to keep her sobs quiet. Her heart felt broken. She wasn't just sad. She was furious. No matter how much she tried to calm down, the anger wouldn't go away. Her own husband and in-laws had completely betrayed her. They didn't care about her feelings or her mother's memory. They only cared about money. But she couldn't just walk away and demand a divorce. She had Leah to think about. Her mother's final words echoed in her mind. Take care of Leah above all else. More tears spilled down her face. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke nearby. Are you okay? Kate gasped and looked up. A familiar face stood in front of her, speaking gently. 4 days later, Kate called Owen and his parents to meet her at a private restaurant room. So, you finally came home after disappearing. Owen scoffed as she sat down. Did you go withdraw the money? You really shouldn't leave home without telling your husband exactly where you're going, her father-in-law added smugly. Kate ignored their words and reached into her bag. She pulled out a document and placed it on the table. It was a divorce notice already filled out. Owen, I want a divorce, she said firmly. Owen's face went pale. What? What are you saying? His parents exchanged shocked looks. I can't be with you anymore, Kate said, her voice steady. Owen's face turned red with anger. You're leaving me just because you got the inheritance? You've changed, Kate. You've become a greedy miser. Kate's patience snapped. I changed? Ever since I inherited my mother's money, you have been out of control, she shot back. You quit your job, decided we'd live with your parents without asking me, and even took out a loan using MY money to build a 3-family house. Then, you plan a vacation to South Africa with my inheritance. Who is the one who changed, Owen? Owen slammed his hand on the table. You can't just divorce me like this. That's right, his mother added quickly. Our savings are shared property. Half of that inheritance belongs to Owen. Exactly, his father nodded. If you divorce him, we're taking half of the $500 million with us. They were practically foaming at the mouth as they leaned forward, ready to fight. But before Kate could respond, the door to the private room suddenly slid open. A small, clear voice rang out. Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma, you should know better. The inheritance Mom received doesn't become shared property, right, Mr. Daniel? Everyone turned in shock. Standing at the doorway was Leah, and right beside her was Attorney Daniel. Owen's face drained of color. His parents froze. Kate sat back, finally feeling a sense of relief. Her daughter had just changed everything. I'm Attorney Daniel, the man said calmly. Kate's mother entrusted me with this matter, and I have been advising her every step of the way. Owen looked flustered.
He was clearly not expecting this.
That's all fine and good, but wait, the inheritance isn't shared property, he asked, his voice rising. Daniel remained calm. That's correct, he said firmly. An inheritance received from a deceased parent does not become shared property. It is not subject to division in a divorce. Owen's face twisted in disbelief. You've got to be kidding me. This has to be a mistake, his father shouted. This can't be happening, his mother added, looking just as shocked. I watched their reactions, feeling both angry and amazed. They really thought my mother's inheritance would automatically belong to them. They had already made plans for my money, assuming they could do whatever they wanted with it. Owen clenched his fists. If that's the case, then there's even more reason not to divorce, he shouted. I won't let you leave me, Kate. I'll never let you go. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked desperate. Then, a calm but firm voice cut through the room. Stop it already. Everyone turned toward Leah. She stood her ground, looking directly at her father. Ever since Mom got the inheritance, have you even thought about her once? She asked, her voice steady. Owen opened his mouth, but no words came out. Grandpa, Grandma, Leah continued, turning to my in-laws, you only ever talk about money. You never once asked how I was feeling or how Mom was doing. I can't consider people like you as family. Owen and his parents looked completely stunned. That night when I ran away, Leah had followed me. I had been sitting in the park, crying over how my own husband and his parents had betrayed me, when Leah ran up to me. Mom, she had said, Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma only care about money. They want to take Grandma's money for themselves. I'm on your side. Let's fight this together. Hearing my daughter say those words had given me the strength to stand up for myself. That's when I called Daniel and arranged this meeting. Leah, it's not like that, Owen said quickly. Dad wants you to be happy. That's right, dear, my mother-in-law added sweetly. You'd be happier living with us, wouldn't you? A child shouldn't interfere in these matters, my father-in-law said sternly. Leah looked completely disgusted. I'm going with Mom, she said firmly. I can't stand being with you anymore. Owen's face turned red with rage. You can't just divorce me like this, he yelled. I'll hire a lawyer. We'll get that money one way or another. If that's the case, Daniel said calmly, I will handle it from here. He turned to Owen. The issue here is whether there are serious reasons for divorce. You quit your job without discussing it. You used household savings without permission. You made big financial decisions without your wife. And most importantly, Leah is saying she doesn't want to stay with you. These are all valid points for divorce. Owen looked shaken. But there's more, Daniel continued. Leah recorded everything. We have proof of all of you begging for Kate's inheritance. That recording will be used as evidence. Owen slumped in his chair. His parents turned pale. They had lost. I took Leah's hand and stood up. We're leaving, I said calmly. Together, we walked out of the restaurant, leaving Owen and his greedy parents behind. 2 years later, with Daniel's help, my divorce was finalized. Leah and I moved back into my mother's house, the home where I grew up. We had peace, but even then, Owen and his parents wouldn't give up. They still sent letters, trying to manipulate us. But it didn't matter anymore. Leah and I had a new life now, and we weren't looking back. I love you, come back. Owen kept sending letters and was even seen loitering near Leah's school. Worried for our safety, we asked Attorney Daniel to file for a restraining order. After that, things finally became quiet. From what I heard, Owen and his parents did build the three-family house, but their plan backfired. My in-laws, who had already retired, had to go back to work in a factory just to survive. Owen struggled to find a job and ended up doing manual labor. Neighbors told me that their house was filled with constant arguments. Their endless fighting made them unpopular in the neighborhood, and people started avoiding them. Meanwhile, Leah and I built a new life together. One day, Leah said, "I want to study abroad in the country where Grandma grew up." That's when I cut ties with Owen completely. Using a small part of my mother's inheritance, Leah and I moved overseas. I found work as a teacher, and Leah started school. She seems happier than ever. As I watch her grow and thrive, I know my mother would be proud. I hope these peaceful days continue forever.